Hi, my name is Tom Parker, and I'm the Industry Liaison Officer with the Australian Counselling Association, the largest peak body for counselling and psychotherapy in Australia. For those of you that are studying counselling at this level, completing this qualification could be that next step to being a registered counsellor. Progressing and navigating throughout your career will teach you one very important lesson. The learning never stops. Those that have already begun their career as a counsellor can attest to this, and will also tell you that professional development is the key to giving the care that others will need. So what is the Australian Counselling Association? It is the largest single registry of qualified counsellors and psychotherapists in Australia, making it the largest peak body for counselling and psychotherapy. With over 4,500 counsellors across Australia, the goals of ACA are simple. ACA aims to raise the profile of the counselling profession, advocate on behalf of its members to government, set the standard for ethical practice, and ensure the recognition for counsellors and psychotherapists in regards to employability. The ACA acts on behalf of its members to promote the interests of its members, no matter how big or how small they might be. Now, for instance, some of ACA's projects are listed here, all of which are aimed at promoting its members' interests and raising the profile of counselling. The ACA is a proactive organisation that increases new employment pathways for registered counsellors, ensures that there's adequate representation and lobbying to government, provides recognition of qualifications and ensures that there are ongoing professional development and conferencing events. It ensures that there's private practice support. And most importantly, by being a registered counsellor, you join a community of mental health professionals. Now, as you may be well aware, counselling is not a governmentally regulated industry. It is not a protected term, and your legitimacy will come from your skills as a counsellor. Counselling has long been recognised as an effective profession in the mental health field, regardless of government rebates. By joining the ACA, it means you're putting yourself through the same professional development standards and ethical standards that might be required of an otherwise regulated industry. What a counsellor does is often misunderstood, so let me put it in its most basic. A counsellor will facilitate a person in the resolution of their issues, creating a therapeutic relationship so the individual can find their own solutions. Counsellors tend not to give advice and do not diagnose, rather giving people a safe space to grow. Now, some of you might ask, why should I be a counsellor at all? Why should I be a counsellor when it's so competitive? It wouldn't be fair if I stood in front of you and said, there's only one reason, or a finite number of reasons to be a counsellor. The fact of the matter is that you each have your own prerogative and purpose, and that's part of the fun of being a counsellor. Every person you speak to and counsel will be different from the first, the next, and the last. It won't be up to us as a counsellor to give advice, but rather develop a therapeutic relationship so that client can find the best outcome for themselves. To me, that sounds good. Counselling is a worthwhile profession with many skills. There are many Australians experiencing a mental health illness each year, and it's a good way to help those in need. I would challenge all of you to think about, what is your specialty? I challenge you to think about what your specialty might be, because that's where you have your greatest professional success. Now let's break down some of those basic statistics around mental health. Some of these are quite staggering. The number of Australians experiencing a mental health illness each year is at 1 in 5. I believe that counsellors are uniquely placed as a cost-effective alternative to assist many individuals work their way through issues as they arise. As you can see, a minority of those with mental disorders had used a health service, in spite of that previous statistic. Thankfully, the model of counselling works in relationships. Creating a safe and therapeutic relationship can be incredibly beneficial for those in need. This is the journey that you are embarking on, providing the care that others will need. By joining the Australian Counselling Association as a registered counsellor, it demonstrates to the public the ethics and standards to which you adhere to, further creating that safe relationship. Now finally, these last two statistics hit close to home for me personally. An inordinate number of young people experienced mental health problems, and very few had received professional health care. With the cumulative probability of a lifetime disorder at 50% by the age of 15, if there is ever a time that the people of Australia need help, it is when they are young. By studying counselling, you are embarking on a noble endeavour to provide support to those who might need it, and to me, that is incredibly worthwhile. Counselling lends itself to the concept of transferable skills. Changing gears, the ability to connect with others and have a strong set of interpersonal skills, it's usually the determining factor in many different industries. Do not think that a counselling qualification means that you're only able to be a counsellor. Apart from the obvious employment opportunities, there are many different instances in human services in which a counselling qualification is highly regarded. Taking a step back, managers, for instance, with counselling skills are a very rare breed, but of no doubt a huge value to their employers. Supervisors, salespeople need to have effective people skills, and educators are no different. Counselling covers a wide spectrum from the highly trained counsellor to someone who uses counselling skills as a part of their role. For example, that could be a nurse, a youth leader, a personal trainer, or a teacher. Additionally, the industry for counselling has been a growth industry for the last 5 years and is projected to do so for the next few years. Now, I'm sure some of you are wondering where I should start my career. Unfortunately, it's not as easy as turning right here and you're there. Becoming a member of the Australian Counselling Association is an incredible resource that you can use in a number of different ways. Maybe some of you are looking at this qualification as a complementary resource in a very competitive job market. Or you might be looking at this as the first step into a long career as your own boss in private practice. Starting a career is a big concept that many will struggle with, regardless of your industry or education. Now, throughout your studies here, you'll be given opportunities for coaching and support along the way. In addition to these moments, I'd encourage you to engage with the Australian Counselling Association about what it is you want to do. Read the monthly e-zine, read the Counselling Australia Journal, volunteer at a professional development conference, and network with those that are already in the industry. That will give you a better indication on where you can go with your career than I ever could. Now, let's take a minute here and have a look at some of the more common job titles for those that appear for those with counselling qualifications. This is not an exhaustive list, but it does show some of the different roles that are out there. They're not always titled counsellor. Community mental health worker or community mental health practitioner does appear quite frequently. Do not think that because you have qualifications in counselling, you can only do work as a counsellor. There are plenty of positions that require counselling skills as part of the role that are not titled counsellor. We are already seeing trends of greater employment in the early intervention and prevention space, exactly where counsellors, registered counsellors, operate. Now, what I would like to draw your attention to next is employment outcomes. As of 2010, these were the statistics about healthcare and social assistance. This sector was the largest employer group in 2010, outcompeting manufacturing and retail trade. Counselling and working within mental health fits into that spectrum of healthcare and social assistance. However, it is a very competitive space. You will be competing with social workers, psychologists, psychiatrists, registered nurses, and other counselors and psychotherapists, among many others. Having qualifications at this level with professional registration makes you a more attractive employee. Over the next few years, healthcare and social assistance is expected to continue to grow, again being the majority employer. This is because of Australia's ageing population, the implementation of the National Disability Insurance Scheme, and increasing demand for childcare and home-based care services. There are opportunities out there for registered counsellors. A registered counsellor is attractive to potential employers compared to not being a registered counsellor. Now, finally, for you might be looking at being a private practitioner after completing postgraduate studies. There are a number of different revenue streams that you could take advantage of, which might help you grow your private practice. For instance, have a think about group therapy, because it's often a cost-effective way for the client to receive therapy and social supports, whilst also maximizing the value of your time. Have a think about what your specialty might be, what area you're most passionate about, because that is where you'll have your greatest professional success. Additionally, the Australian Counselling Association have had their policies and standards assessed as adequate for registration within the National Disability Insurance Scheme. In order to provide therapeutic supports under the National Disability Insurance Scheme to those that are living with a lifelong disability, the provider must be registered with a professional association. That's the Australian Counselling Association. This does present another opportunity to grow a private practice after completing postgraduate studies. So why even join the Australian Counselling Association at all? Apart from what I've talked about today, let me lay it all out for you. Joining the Australian Counselling Association means you get the inside track on information about your industry before you even join your industry. You receive a raised profile with your own profile page on the ACA website and others. Constant support. ACA is, again, the only peak body for counselling and psychotherapy with full-time staff. There are discounts and networking events. Being a member certainly has its perks, and you join a community of mental health professionals. Customized insurance at a discounted rate, and there is significant industry recognition. It bears mentioning that certain employers will only hire ACA members or registered professionals. What you might be interested to know is that because of the ethical framework and standards that ACA sets, ACA has successfully been able to negotiate discounted rates of insurance exclusively for ACA members, further passing on the savings to you as a member. There is a lot that ACA can offer, and I really look forward to representing all of you in your future career, whatever you choose to do with it. So let's wrap this up. To conclude, this is an exciting endeavor that you are undertaking. Counseling qualifications are worthwhile and useful in many different facets of life, both professionally and personally. By joining the Australian Counselling Association, it gives you that competitive edge, that competitive advantage as a professional, and accountability in an industry. I wish you the very best, and I wanted to say thank you for taking the time to listen to me. Take care.